Hello, I'm Elizabeth Vargas, and this is 2020 in Touch. Here's what we're working on for this week's program.
I went to court, and I never came home.
I was very surprised when I was being led out of the room in shackles.
And they put my hands behind my back, handcuffed me, and took me right away.
Kids locked up and taken from their parents on their first, even minor offense.
I was only in front of the judge for not even 4 minutes. He barely even looked at me. He was just looking at paperwork on his desk.
Rapid-fire justice.
And my son was standing next to me. When I turned around, he was gone. He was already in handcuffs and shackles at the back of the room.
Parent after parent in this one Pennsylvania courtroom, stunned, mystified by what they witnessed.
I was helpless, absolutely helpless. And to this day, I could still cry over it.
A mystery in Luzerne County, the heart of Pennsylvania's struggling coal country. Why were so many kids sent to see juvenile judge Mark Ciavarella in his Wilkes-Barre courtroom, getting sent directly to jail, and in such a rush?
I was 12 years old when I got locked up. I had no clue what to say when he asked me, how do I plead?
Eric Stefanski's offense? He went joyriding with his mom's car and ran over a barrier, smashing the undercarriage. No one was hurt, not even Eric. But in order to get her insurance to pay for the damage, Mom had to file a police report. The next stop, Judge Ciavarella.
Do you remember yourself standing in front of him?
He read me my charges and said, how do you plead? I didn't know what to say, so I looked at my mom and I said, guilty.
At 12 years old, Eric was locked up for 2 years.
How many questions did they ask you or him about his record?
Oh, none. None about his record, none about nothing to do with his life. None.
And what did your attorney say?
I didn't have one.
I did not think it was necessary. On his first offense, he's so young, I just didn't think that was necessary.
And we're talking about judges who were literally paid millions of dollars to send kids to jail. The kickbacks came from the privately run juvenile detention centers that stood to make those millions by increasing the head count. Kids as young as 12 years old hauled away for trespassing, fighting on the school bus, even pocketing loose change. Kids who were taken away from their parents, in some cases for years. The day is seared in Linda Donovan's memory.
They just grab him like he's some kind of hard criminal, like he's a murderer, and rip him away. There's nothing you could do.
Nearly 3 years ago, her son Eric, 11 at the time, took her car out for a joyride. Eric crashed the car, and Linda called the police. She wanted to teach her son a lesson and thought at most he'd get a slap on the wrist. What happened next shocked both mother and son.
The guy said, grabbed my arm and said, come this way, and that was it. He just put the handcuffs and shackles on.
Eric, at the age of 12, was hauled away to a juvenile detention center.
What were your emotions that day?
Scared, confused, helpless.
Most of all, alone. For the next 2 years, Eric was shuttled from lockup to lockup. He says he even thought about suicide.
I would call her and I'd say, it's not worth it. I'm never going to see you again.
This past October, he finally came home. But before they could celebrate, they learned Eric's case was part of a countywide corruption scandal that has rocked this small section of eastern Pennsylvania. 2 judges, Mark Ciavarella and Michael Conahan, charged in a federal case involving $2.6 million in kickbacks. In return for the money, the judges sent teens to at least 2 privately run juvenile detention centers, which stood to gain by filling them up.
I mean, there's a kid who fought on a school bus. He got 9 months in detention. Another one who put something on MySpace about a teacher and told everyone it was a joke. Those people got time in detention. I mean, this is crazy.
Lawyer Mike Cefalo is representing more than 200 families, and the list keeps growing.
All this time I thought, I'm blaming myself. It's my fault. I should have never called the cops. And to hear a greedy judge is behind that, it's just, I'm irate.
What's worse, Eric has changed, both at home and at school.
They think I'm crazy.
How does that make you feel?
Like an outcast.
The judges have pleaded guilty to fraud and tax charges. They've been disbarred, and under the plea deal, will serve more than 7 years in prison. For Linda and her son, that is little consolation.
We got to make up for the 2 years that was taken away. We'll never get back what we had. We'll never be the way we used to be.
We're continuing our conversation on an infuriating story. 2 judges pleading guilty. Basically what happened, some teens committing basically petty crimes. Yes, there should have been a consequence, but what happened, these judges sent them off to these camps where they should have never have been so they could get kickback money to the tune of $2.6 million. We're talking with a couple of families who've had to deal with this. I want to bring in Linda Bly. Linda's son caught trespassing at a vacant building. Certainly, you want to send a message that's not right. There should have been some consequence. But instead, Linda, your son, goes to this camp for a couple of weekends?
Yeah.
You must have been stunned in the courtroom when this happened.
Oh, yeah. I was shocked. My husband was there. He was shocked. Shane really didn't even know what to say to the judge when the judge questioned him, what do you think I should do with you? Shane was an honor roll student at the time, and he told him he could be smart at camp.
So how bad was it at this camp for Shane? Because it subjected him to this experience he should have never had to go through. Tell us about it.
Exactly. I would take him to the juvenile detention center at 3 o'clock on Friday, and he stayed there until Sunday at 1 o'clock. It was February of 2002. It was in the teens outside. They slept in sleeping bags under a pavilion.
And did he have contact with some kids that he shouldn't have had contact with? And did that change his life at all?
Oh, yes, tremendously. He got the reputation because He was only there for weekends, but once he came home, Monday morning he'd go to school, and every morning he had to sign in with his probation officer. So everybody in school knew you're on probation, you've been sent away, you're tainted.
Yeah, it's all of a sudden an honor roll student. Now it gets the bad boy image. So obviously Shane's going to live that out, or at least he can.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I know things have not gone well for him since.